people scroll 300 to 700 feet per day. Your content better be recognizable in color and brand, because if it flies past, if it's just text only, it's not going to grab the attention.
Hey, welcome to the podcast where dreams meet determination and success is just around the corner. I'm your host, Suzanne Taylor King, and I'm here to help you unlock the full potential of your business and your life. Welcome to Unlock Your Way with STK. Let's unlock your path to success together. Good morning, everyone. Suzanne Taylor King here for another Friday episode of Unlock Your Way with STK. And I am super excited for today's conversation with Darren Pallatina, Pallatina Designs, who, total transparency, just made over my LinkedIn profile, and I couldn't be happier. Welcome, Darren.
Cheers. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, super excited. I love how your background is on brand for you. So well done. How the heck did you get started making over, especially the visual part of this? I'm totally intrigued. How'd you get started doing this for other people?
So I'll give you a little bit of a background to my sort of journey through past careers and that to get to where I was at now.
Yeah.
And when I was really young, I was a bit of a rebel. I was in a punk band. I used to do a lot of drugs. And then to get away from the drug scene, I joined the army. So I was in the military for 14 years. I went through the army and navy, bomb disposal, or part of a bomb disposal unit in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And then I went to the navy in the aviation side. And then when I was coming out, I was leaving the navy. I was asked by the guy that recruited me into the navy. He said, "Would you want to work in the careers office in recruitment, naval recruitment?" So I went into recruitment for a couple of years, and then that led on to another career or a short career in defense recruitment for a company called BAE Systems. They do all the manufacturing of the ships and submarines and that. And then while I was in recruitment, I'd come across like different profiles of, like influencers and that. And I started to notice like the banners that they had and, look really nice and their profiles look smart. And when I decided I was going to leave the recruitment, the recruitment job, I decided I wanted to set up my own business. I wasn't sure what business it was going to be to start with. I originally looked into coding. And I did a week of coding. I was like, this is frying my head. I just can't get my head around it. And it was just too much. So then I thought, well, I was interested in design for like 15 years before actually stepping into it. So when I was a lot younger, I was like, wanted to do design and really good at drawing. But I ended up in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, no, I'm just going to go and go ahead with the design. So I started to do some YouTube, found out, Adobe is like the, the standard for design. And then I started looking to go, where can I go with design? What do I want to do? And I started just playing with my own banner. Just designing my banner, figuring out, back then I didn't know the aspect ratio, the dimensions of the banners and all that. And
right.
Started to play with that. And then I came across a guy called Danny Townley, and he was already about 2 years ahead of me in the profile space. So he was doing banners and a lot of that. He was known as Bannerman Dan. And so that was his name on LinkedIn. And he inspired me. I got really friendly with him. He taught me a lot with Photoshop and things like that. And then the business sort of just started to take, not necessarily take off, but it was starting to get traction. And when I was designing banners, I offered like a few free banners. I did like 10 or 12 banners for free just to get a bit of experience working with people and, trying to figure out my own process. And then there's a lady called Leah Turner. I don't know, do you know Leah Turner?
Yeah.
So Leah Turner, she saw my designs back, within the first 3 months of me starting what I was doing. And she said, "Oh, how much do you charge for banners?" I said, "Well, I'm not charging anything at the moment. So I just want to get a bit of practice." And she said, "Oh, I'll tell you what, do me a little advert and I'll pop it in my community," because she's got a big community, isn't she? And she put it in the community and I had 48 banner orders in 2 weeks.
Nice.
At £50 a banner. So she said, charge £50 a banner. Bear in mind, I was just starting off, so I was still learning the skill. And people were saying, "Oh, could you do like me as a cartoon character? Could you do this? Could you do that?" And all these little ideas. I was like, holy shit, I've got to like figure this out. I like real time learning. I was trying to learn at real fast pace because people were asking me to do stuff that I didn't have a clue. So I was on YouTube, following instructions on YouTube, designing in real time, trying to figure it all out. And
I love it.
Spanish used to take me hours and hours and hours back then because I was having to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously as time went on, and we sort of started to get a name for ourselves, started to get better at design, started to figure out things like, the featured section thumbnails, the backlinks, the profile photo, carousel templates, and all that sort of stuff started to come into our offer. So that's kind of a long strung out journey of how I got from being in a punk band through the military to where I'm at today.
Well, listen, we're going to have to address the punk band thing first because I was a total punker in high school, and short, spiky blue hair, nose pierced, safety pins in my ears, I had a choreographed dance with my high school boyfriend to certain punk songs at school dances, which they very rarely played. We had to beg, and was really into that whole scene. So very interesting how I often meet people who have this music thing in common with me. Who is your favorite punk band?
So I was more into my funk. So I like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they were like my all-time favorite, especially like 15, 20 years ago when it was still still at the peak. Just before they hit mainstream and went, kind of become a bit of a sellout after, going to the mainstream. But back then they were really good. I used to love like anything that had I was a bass player, so anything that had a good bass line. So like Jamiroquai was another good one.
Oh yeah.
And, and stuff like that. So then if you're going more towards the punk side, it was things like The Offspring, Bad Religion, then sort of bands. And then my guitarist / vocalist, he was just punk all the way. He was like well into his punk and ska. He liked punk and ska. And then my drummer was a metalhead, came from a metal background. So we sort of blended it all in. We became, say again?
Nice combination.
It was good, yeah. We became more of a pop punk band rather than a full on punk band, because I played a lot of funk and slap bass. My guitar was more of a punk, and then we had the the metal drummer.
Nice.
So yeah, worked well.
Nice. Well, I'm totally gonna show my age and reveal who my favorite was. The Clash. And the Clash, the Ramones, Generation X, Billy Idol's first band, obsessed, still obsessed with Billy Idol and that whole type of music, the new wave, the 80s stuff. But some of the original punk bands out of the UK, the Dead Milkmen and the Circle Jerks and like all of that, Sex Pistols and all of those bands were so influential in the 80s. And that's when I was in high school and most influenced by music, I think. I think that's the time in your life when you're most affected by music, whenever you were in high school.
It's funny how it changes though, because I turned 40 in November last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like now my taste in music's more like a lot calmer. I like a lot of lo-fi hip hop and stuff like that now, so I've calmed down a lot.
Yeah.
I still listen to some of the old bands sometimes, but like, I don't know, just sets off like anxiety now. I think it's just, that's part of the history, and it's, back in the day, and, there's a lot of memories back there, but,
my podcast producer, Jason, just said, forget that stuff, run DMC. Yeah, that's more my, college time, my son just listened to something from a modern day rapper. I don't know who it was, but the backbeat was Belle Biv DeVoe. And I was like, I know that song. And he was like, no, you don't. I'm like, yes, I do. And so it's really fun having those music conversations. I have a 15-year-old. So lots of the music today that he's listening to has the undertones of, stuff I used to listen to, stuff you used to listen to. So it's really fun. All right. Now,
we've got a 4-year-old daughter. Just off before you go on, we got a 4-year-old daughter that's massively into Black Sabbath at the moment.
Oh, really? She likes that music, huh? She likes that.
AC/DC, yeah.
That's really cool. She likes the vibe of that music, which is awesome. Yeah. Now the second thing that I want to talk about is your transition into this field. I want to applaud the doing the banners for free, the learning on the fly, the being willing to learn. And then this idea of being of value to a major influencer. You were of value to Leah, and then she shared you with her community, which really accelerated your learning curve and your exposure. How incredible.
Well, off the back end of that, obviously off the back end of that, you get referrals and
Right.
your portfolio grows faster. You get recommendations faster. Like something that I always say to people who are starting out is like, you've got to do free work. If you're trying to build a business to initially get going,
yes,
you can't charge for your work because one, you haven't got the experience, especially if you're new to business and this is your first time. You've got no social proof, no recommendations, no portfolio. You got nothing there to go and charge for. And when people come to me saying, I can't get clients, it's like, well, how many clients have you worked with? Oh, none at the moment. Or why are you charging £800 for a service and you've got no proof that even works? Like I had a guy reach out to me a while back and he was trying to sell Facebook ads.
Okay.
And I was like, right, okay, well, I'm not on Facebook, so it's irrelevant to me. We still do banners for Facebook and people when they want to, brand across all social media platforms. But I said, have you got any stats about these adverts? He goes, oh, no, not yet. I said, well, why would I put my money out for that? And you've got nothing to back it up, so a lot of people, they're too ego driven to do free work. And I think that is where a lot of people either delay the growth of their business or they end up failing in business because they will not do it. Because what if you say you're good at what you do and you got a client that you're really interested in working with, if you go to them and say, look, I will give you, I don't know, if it was content, say you're a content strategist or whatever, I will give you 20 days of content for free. And if you're happy with the result, let's work together and talk about price.
Yeah.
And then if they are and they get results and they get some sales off it or whatever it be, if they're looking for exposure, growth, followers, whatever their goal is, if you achieve that, then they know that you can do the job. Then you're worth the money to them. And then you can talk about working on a paid basis, So
yeah. Well, so many people aren't willing to do that. And I'm not sure, I think it's part ego and maybe part even feeling desperate for money, not in a bad way, but like they need money so badly that, it just becomes, I can't give it away. And I'll give you a great example of that. Somebody from Instagram, one of my Instagram followers, messaged me on WhatsApp because I have that out there. I don't know. I mean, it's on my Facebook business page to message me on WhatsApp. And he messaged me, gave me some like just tips on Instagram. And then he said, I've been on your email list for I don't know how long. Your emails are really, really great. I love the story emails, but your sales emails, I struggle with them. And I said, how so? He said, I wasn't ready to buy. I said, okay. He said, I'm going to write a sales email for you if you're into it. I'm going to write a sales email for you. I was like, sure, have at it. He said, if it makes sales, will you buy more of those emails from me? I said, absolutely, I would consider that. And he is young, go-getter. He researched me. He knew what I needed and then said, could I do this for you? And if it works for me, I know I will send people his way. So I just think you have to be willing. I did a lot of that in the beginning, a lot of helping people. I still help a lot of people for free, but I think it's really important as you're growing.
the thing is, like I said earlier, it's important to get the experience. Like if you're new to business, you don't know how to work with people. Like when I first started, and Leah got 48 banners come through within 2 weeks. Everything was written on a piece of paper. I didn't have any processes, no like management software. We use Trello now. I have nothing in place, and I was like, man, I don't even know where I'm at. I didn't know who had paid, who hadn't paid, and I was like, chasing people, like, are you ready or whatever, and it was crazy, absolutely crazy. Like,
well, let's talk a little bit about that. You didn't over prepare for that, right? You didn't have a CRM in place. You didn't have a website. You didn't have an SOP for, okay, client A pays and then this happens. So no automations. You were doing everything yourself, and you figured all that out after those 40 some clients, correct?
yeah. So when I was getting started, like I said, it was all on paper, like just like written down in a notebook, trying to figure out crossing names off. When I had them orders, I put all the names in a post, and I said, "You're next, you're next, you're next," so people could see where they were on the list. But then I started to get to the point where I need something to manage it, and I was looking for free software. Trello is fantastic.
Yes.
I absolutely love Trello. It's free. It's got more than what I need. I've now got a small team that are in there, and we manage it all in there. But like you're talking about automation, and now it's like I've got all my lists with the columns of parts of the process, and when you move it across, it adds a tag to it and notes and labels and all that stuff. So it's really it's much better to manage things now. But going back to the website, we don't even have a website. So we built a good business with no website at all. Like I'm planning to get a website now because we're starting to open bigger offers, and we're starting to partner with companies as well for ongoing design support. So we are expanding. We're starting this year. We'll start to see scale this year.
Nice.
But like the website for me, I feel two things. I feel people put too much weight on when they're starting a business. One is the logo, right? Forget logos. Like with your branding, your logo should be the last thing you should be thinking about. People come to me and they go, "Can you do a logo?" Okay, well, what fonts you using, what colors you using? Oh, I haven't got any branding at it. So forget the logo. It's not important. Like I can say, if I said to people now I got like 17,500 followers, somewhere around there. If I said, if I put 12 logos together and mine was in there somewhere, and I said, point my logo out, I bet out of 17,500 people, maybe 10 would know what my logo looks like.
Yeah.
Because nobody sees it. I don't put it on anything. I never share it or anything like that. Like a logo is not important. The colors I find that you use are really important with branding. So I use pink, magenta. I use, and then I've got. I don't know how long you followed my content for, but I use pink gangsters in my content. So I used to use gangsters with suits, and then I now use. I really like Grand Theft Auto. The games have now gone more towards gangsters in like pink hoodies.
Yeah,
kind of that style. But like, I'll tell you the story behind that in a minute. But with the pink and the gangsters, I became very popular with the pink gangsters, and they were like recognized across LinkedIn, and that became my brand. And now if I tell you about why that brand existed, was in the 1940s, my granddad was part of the Italian mafia. He was a Sicilian jeweler. And so he was connected to the mafia in Italy. And in the 40s, they fled when the civil war kicked off. They fled to UK, and then obviously the generations carried on from there. So that was the gangster element. Obviously Pallatina, Sicilian, that's my last name. And then the pink came from when I was in a punk band. I used to have pink hair. So I merged both the gangsters and pink together to form Pink Gangster, which we now use Midjourney for to create the images. And that's where my brand really started to come together, So, but yeah, going back to the website, like people shouldn't be thinking about unless you're selling products.
Right.
I think, services.
A storefront.
Yeah. Like with us now, like, we've got a good business. We haven't got a website. It's all on LinkedIn. People come to us without us even trying anymore. People refer people hear us off content or whatever.
Yeah. I found you were in someone else's comments. So you commented. I saw your comment. I saw, the picture of you in the hoodie and the pink, and I was like, who is this guy? Clicked on it, and I read the first line of your header on LinkedIn. It's like, I love him.
Straight to the point.
Straight to the point. And I'm so no BS when I hear and see someone else who's no BS. I love it. I read the rest of your profile, followed you. I don't think I sent a connection request yet. So I was looking at your content at least 3 times a week for a very short time. And then you had an offer in one of your posts. And I said, I'll take that. Never met you. Saw some of your work. Obviously, you share your work on LinkedIn. Plus, you're a product of your own work, which is stellar. And never even talk to you to make a purchase, which in today's day and age, for that to happen, your content built trust with me. Your visuals spoke for themselves. And it was just, the experience was seamless. It was an email and a form for me to fill out, which was very thorough. I was very impressed. Google Drive, everything was there, easy to do, and a couple little back and forths on LinkedIn Messenger, and my makeover was complete. It was amazing.
That process that you just talked about now, that was something that I really pride myself on, is the onboarding and processing experience, because when I first started to look at that, there's a website called Jotform. Have you heard of Jotform?
Yes.
So we used Jotform. I set up Jotform. It had all the form. It had a payment gateway on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a client who was also a friend. He's over in Australia, towards Australia way, New Zealand, sorry. And me and him are quite close anyway, communicating. And he said, "Oh, could you do my profile?" I said, "Yeah, I'll send you a link and you can get started." And he felt this was on Jotform, and it was before they went onto the cloud. They've only recently gone onto the cloud now, but he spent, half hour, 45 minutes filling this form in. And when he went to pay, the payment gateway failed and lost the entire form. That was the first time I'd used Jotform. So straight away, I was like, right, I'm not using Jotform. I'm going to do a Word document, because once you downloaded it, if you lose signal, you can just save it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You can do it on the train, wherever you are, come back to it. You've got a copy, I've got a copy. And it's like, that's solid at that point.
Yep.
So I found, if I could make email templates with links to download the assets, obviously the form, the portfolio for inspiration, and then give you your own Google Drive folder, then you had everything you need to carry on doing.
Yeah.
Rather than me jumping on a 45-minute call and we're trying to fill in the form on a call, it's just like, it's a waste of time. It might not be convenient for you. If you got bad signal or I got bad signal, the call's a nightmare. So there's so many reasons why I've gone for that approach to make it as smooth as possible. Now I am about to automate that a bit more, where you would make a payment, then you'd be sent an email automatically with everything, rather than me sending an email, and then from there, then you fill it all out, send it back, and then the email will then pick it up. I've built it so AI picks up the email, and then that will send it to Trello, ready for me and my team to process. So, do you know what I mean? So at that point, then I don't even have to get involved within the initial contact and the onboarding. Now, like you said, about the content of my profile attracting you to me. Now, I've got a friend called Fran Collado, and he's an email marketer. And he's good at what he does. But he's so big on email marketing and getting an email list and stuff like that. And I found, he says, most people aren't ready to buy. Like you said, that guy wasn't ready to buy. And he said, most people aren't ready to buy at the time. And I was like, we had a call, like another podcast I was on with him, and we were talking to another guy, Kevin Dowling. And he was saying, most people don't buy straight away. And I was starting to build an email list, but for me personally, it doesn't feel the right direction. Like me emailing to people trying to sell, it's like, well, they go to my profile or they see me in a comment, they look at my banner and go, holy shit, this guy's banner's 8. Yeah. And then, like you say, I've got to be my own product, and it's different for different services, because for me, because we specialize in profiles and banners and the copy and all that sort of stuff, my profile and my portfolio is the social proof, where Like if you were like a sales coach or something like that, they're going to want to know what stats have you got for sales, who have you worked with, what are their, their outcomes of working with you, what sales have they made, how much revenue have you, all the data. And it's very hard to prove that, where if you look at design, it's like, this is what you're going to get. And that's it. It's easy to market, so, and then in terms of the branding, just being straightforward, straight to the point. Like I swear a lot in my content. I really don't care about offending people.
I know, I kind of like it a whole lot.
Yeah. But the thing is that, you get some people that complain and they're like, oh, you shouldn't use swear words. It's like, just get lost because you're not my client.
Right.
I don't want to work with people who, one, get offended and two, waste my time. And people who complain about my language in my posts, the second they put a negative comment in my post about the way I write, they're just blocked. They're blocked. I don't even hesitate. I just go, right, block. I don't need you.
Yeah.
There's a billion users on LinkedIn. I'm sure I can find enough clients to keep me going.
And there's a freedom in that polarizing, because as soon as I read that, you can't get, or I forget how, but basically if your profile looks like shit, you're not going to get clients on LinkedIn. And did I need to hire you? My LinkedIn was okay. It was doing okay for me. But you made me see that I wanted it. It could be better. Oh, it can be better.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. And I will say one other thing about being polarizing like that. You end up working with people who really resonate with your brand, and because your brand is visual, you can behave like you're behaving because it's a visual product you're selling, which just means you could go to Instagram and do the same thing. You could go to Facebook and do the same thing. Repeat if it's visual like that. So I think it's just really a matter of when I saw, and there's been a couple people that saw my banner and said, oh, that looks good. Did you do that? No, I did not. Send them to your profile. Not a website, not a opt-in form for them to get emails, but for instant gratification on the visual. Oh, you think you did a good job on mine? Look at what else he can do.
Yeah.
And I think that's so repeatable. And it's such a good message for those out there who are struggling to attract people, that the visuals are important. Not a logo, but the visuals are important.
So I always look at it from a standpoint of, if you were going to go to a job interview or an important business meeting, would you turn up in jeans and a hoodie, or would you want to go in a suit?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And a lot of people don't want to put investment into the way their profile looks. A lot of people just DIY it and we think that'll do. But the problem is, when you look at DIY jobs, you can tell it's a DIY job. Spacing, alignment, text sizing, colors, blending, anything, you can tell it's not done properly. Canva, it's a Canva job. And the problem with Canva, you can download get a banner done on Canva for free, but it's like the same as like 10 other thousand people that have done the same banner. So there's nothing unique about it. And the way I look at profiles is when somebody comes to your profile, if your profile looks like shit, as I say, right, it's going to give two potential opinions on your business, right? One is, if you're not spending money to look or present professionally, it looks like you aren't doing very well financially, which means if you're not doing well financially, you're not very good at what you do.
Yep.
Right, that's one. Yep. Or two, if you don't care about how your profile looks, clients are probably going to presume that's how you'll treat their business.
Yeah.
So they're the two ways I look at this. Okay. So when somebody comes to your profile, they should initially go, holy shit, this looks smart. It looks presentable. It's professional. It's clear. good call to action, good headline. I know what to do next. I know where I'm going. Okay. Like with us, we go, with the banner, headline, featured section, get them off the platform into booking a call, email, website, newsletter, whatever, wherever you want to send them. So that depends on what the clients have got. So like with me, I don't have a website and everything's on LinkedIn anyway. So it's easier just to drop me a DM and we're there on the platform that we need to be, where it's pointless me sending them on LinkedIn, go to my website, then come back to LinkedIn. It's pointless. Where if you're making sales as proper coaching, you go, okay, profile, get them off the platform into your website or booking a call, then you want them off the platform. So it depends what your approach is. So because of what we do is very different on how we attack that angle compared to what the clients are that we work with. So,
well, I think it's the speed to your customer journey is, I don't know what the average is, but I'm assuming it's much shorter than for somebody like me. I know most of my clients, we've either had a conversation or they were referred to me. So it's a longer customer journey. I've had people in my sphere for 3 years before they've hired me. Yours with me was less than 2 weeks. So I wonder what do you find is the norm for your customer journey?
So with us, depending on what they want. So typically, I would say when it's profiles, we've got a 48-hour turnaround. So obviously that doesn't include the on getting you the email and getting the form back. If you take 2 weeks to fill in the form, then obviously it's going to take 2 weeks to get the job done. But when we get the form back, so I should plug my phone in because it's running out of battery. When we get to a point where we get the form back, usually the same, depending on what time of day we get it, but if it's normally like in the morning, within a couple of hours, you got the copy, which gives you the 15 headline, the banner strap lines, 15 headlines, and 5 different variations of your about section. And then what we do then, we just ask, which strap line do you want to go for the banner. When we get that back, it's normally 24 hours after that, you got the full profile complete. Mm-hmm. We're pretty quick. Like I said, I've got a team now. So my team is exceptionally fast, but very high quality as well. Like one of my designers is 8 years senior designer. So he's always in Trello. He's always active. And then if we decide, when we do profiles, we then go, right, do you need content support? So if you come to us with a copy, we can build your carousel template, all on brand to match your profile. We can build the template, you take it away to Canva and do your thing on there. Or we can build the template, then we've got offers for, do you want 8 carousels doing? If you want 8 carousels, this is the price. And, you just come to us with a copy, slide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 10. And then once we get all that back, we just go and process it again. Usually, once we've got the carousel template built, we normally do 10 carousels into.
I want that. Now I want that. You're good at this. You're good at this.
But the thing is, what it does is it's branded recognition, brand recognizable content.
Yeah.
So with me now, I've started to go towards the Grand Theft Auto stuff. So I use a lot of like Grand Theft Auto style image generation. But it's still got the pinks and yellows in there. Okay, so when somebody's scrolling fast, so do you know Justin Welsh?
Yes.
Yeah, Justin Welsh. So he's got a course. I can't remember how much course was it. It's one of his low ticket courses. I think it is, around there.
Yeah.
But in the course, it talks about, there was a study done, and they reckon that people, on average, scroll 300 to 700 feet per day scrolling, right? Which is phenomenal amount. Now, if you're scrolling at pace, your content better be recognizable in color and brand, because if it flies past, if it's just text only, it's not going to grab the attention. Sure, people get like notifications that you're posting and stuff, but LinkedIn isn't the most reliable for notifications. You miss a lot of stuff there. You might follow 100 people or 200 or 5,000 people, but you're not going to get all that content come into your feed. So
right.
But then when you look at the content, you go, oh, that looks really cool. It's well designed, well presented, looks really smart. I like the branding. And then you go, I'm going to click on the person's profile, bang, the banner matches, the profile photo matches, the features section matches. Then you go one step further. Now the website matches, because now a lot of our clients, what they do is come to us for a profile because we effectively do their branding at that point then if they haven't got any. And then they go, right, I'm going to work with a web designer. So what we're going to do now is replicate what you've done with my profile on LinkedIn. And we're going to replicate that on the website. So they end up working with a web designer for that part, so everything aligns then.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I remember the first profile I saw a couple years ago when I was making the transition from Facebook to LinkedIn. And I remember noticing Ben Mears' profile. It's, black and gold letters, very simple, very stoic, very just, factual, clean. And I clicked from his featured section to the website and it looked exactly the same. His emails look exactly the same. And it's this feel of so much professionalism, clean, memorable. I know immediately when I see one of his posts or images or carousels, and I love that. And the other people that you mentioned are exactly the same way. And I think that's why they've become so visible and so recognizable, right? It's this idea that you just be that part before you have 100,000 followers, before you have, you just be it now and it'll happen. Love it.
The thing is, you can also take it like my email signature block. It's another one. If you're emailing people all the time, you can do an email signature block. And at the bottom of the block, you can say, click here to find me on LinkedIn. And then you just put a hyperlink to the email block and it takes you to LinkedIn if you don't deal with them on LinkedIn. So you've got the branding there as well. And it's just little splashes of branding everywhere you go. You then can bring it into if you use business cards or anything like that, you can bring it into that. So there's so many places that branding can take place. We do like presentations, PowerPoint presentations, we do pitch decks, carousels, we do, we used to do animated DMs where, you pop up in a DM and it would say, hi, thanks for connecting. We used to do that, but there was a lot of work in that for what we could charge and it was not really worth our time. But we can still do like the still images and when you connect with someone, you can just send them the image and say, thanks for connecting or whatever. And, all the time you're flashing your branding in their face all the time, say.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
I do too. I so look forward to, because one of the things I help my clients with is the confidence in their knowledge and their authority and their influence within their network. Are you the go-to person in your network for what you do?
Yeah.
You've demonstrated that to me. And that, to me, that means that there's 8 or 10 of my clients that need what you offer. And I love that. I love when that happens and I'm the tester. I'm the example. Like I knew I needed it to elevate my brand to the next level on LinkedIn and follow my example. And I just want to thank you for doing such a great job and just being that example for my people. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that everyone's like it. I'm glad that you're happy with the outcome as well. And another thing to look at as well is like one thing that people ask me, because obviously we don't just do the design, we do all the copy and SEO and everything from that. A lot of people say, I've had quite a few people in the past say, does a fully optimized and well-designed profile guarantee sales? And I'm like, no, it doesn't, because you've still got to drive traffic, still got to engage. Right. If you just build your profile and then go, I'm never logging into LinkedIn again, well, the profile is not going to do anything. Right. It's a conversion tool. But what I do say to people is, although a good profile doesn't guarantee sales, a bad profile guarantees you'll be repelling clients. 100%. Like if people look at it and it's all over the place, sporadic. It looks a mess. It's not clear what to do next with call to actions, things like that. They're just going to log off and go to someone else. And if you were to look at like you versus 9 of your competitors, if you were to line everybody up now on a line, all the same service, same offer, but yours is the only profile that looks professional, who are they going to choose? And, and it's not blowing smoke up your own backside saying it'll be you. You look like you've taken pride in how you're presenting to clients and other people. So I think it's really important that people take that away. Is always, your presentation is a first impression. I've just done a banner for a guy called Mike Green, and he was the Secret Millionaire on BBC. He was on the TV program Secret Millionaire.
Oh, okay.
And I said, why did you want us to do your profile? He said it's first impressions. He understands the importance of straight away you need to give that impact. Because if you log onto someone's profile and they've got a picture of their cat and a profile photo of them, 5 of them drinking around the table, it's like, well, which one are you? And it's like the headline, I love football. It's like, well, it's irrelevant, completely irrelevant, so it's always important to make sure it's professionally well presented, clear on what you do, who you do it for, good calls to action, which is what we call from the banner to featured section to your next part. We call that the prospect pathway, because it's what you want them to do next and get them into the next place as easy as possible.
Yeah.
And then from that point, then you've got to manage your onboarding and processing on the other side of that. So, it's one cog in a massive machine. Your content, engaging, connecting with people. That's the first driver. Then they're going to go to your profile. Do they want to connect with you? Do they want to engage? Okay, yeah, I do. Okay, well, now I'm interested in buying. Is your processes okay? Like I said, I would take a lot of pride in how we process clients. It's all important. You don't want any of that to be messy. Yeah. So
I love it. I love it so much, Darren. Thank you so much for being who you are and doing this. I just want to share your LinkedIn profile. Let me see if I can share that on LinkedIn. I will make sure I share that. There it is. And I will also share that in the comments for anybody who's looking to get in touch with you. Thank you so much for the work you did for me. And thank you for being the example for which I teach from this example. Be the authority in your space. Look the part of your experience, and then be able to attract more people to you. And I love what you said about just because you have a website or a LinkedIn profile that looks the part, it doesn't mean you don't have to drive traffic to it. So you have to be having the conversations and having the content that drives people to go look at your profile in the first place. So thank you for being here on the show with me today. I appreciate you and look forward to sending lots of people your way.
I appreciate you having me on. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Unlock Your Way. I hope you found today's discussion inspiring and you're ready to take your business and personal growth to that next level. If you're feeling as fired up as I am and eager to unlock that full potential, I'm here to help you on your journey and provide that personalized guidance tailored to your unique goals and challenges. Simply book a one-on-one coaching call with me and we'll dive deep into your business aspirations and see how we could co-create a roadmap for your success. And whether you're striving to scale an enterprise or just getting started, I'm here to support you every step of the way. To schedule your coaching call, simply visit the website at unlockyourwaywithstk.com, click on the Book a Call button, and we'll turn your dreams into that reality. Subscribe and review on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. Plus, you can join over 800 entrepreneurs in the Idea Lab Facebook group. Let's make success as an entrepreneur happen together. Until next time, I'm STK. Keep dreaming big, stay focused, and most of all, have fun while you're doing it.